there are like 4 focus areas. Like it's the skills, of course. People have to be skilled to use ICT, and of course we want to focus. We need our society needs more engineers. So that's also a reason why we invest more into ICT and ICT skills. The second area is smarter government. The government needs to be more efficient. We see that we could save some costs, especially in the healthcare area, for example, and even normal government job can be more efficient. So we can use more IT there. The third area is infrastructure. So Estonian government provides infrastructure for authentication and authorization. We have a digital signature, and still digital signature is widely used, so widely used that even we have the e-elections that we can use it for electing our parliament or local government over the internet. And we also improved the infrastructure, network infrastructure. I mean, all the ultra-fast internet all over Estonia and stuff like that. And the fourth area is the image of Estonia. I mean, like part of Estonian image is being an e-country, and if Estonia is a heavily exporting country, so we need to support our country image to even sell more of our stuff outside Estonia.
Okay, how much money do you invest in all that stuff? Do you have something?
Yeah, it's a very small amount. I mean, like all the IT costs altogether, all the salaries, all the maintenance cost, all the investment cost is less than 50 million euros per year, 50.
Okay. So you mentioned skills. What do you do for education, especially? So what?
We have special programs to get more IT engineers. Historically, for example, we have a university in South Estonia, very old university, among top 500 in the world. And this university historically have been training doctors and nurses mainly. I mean, these have been the largest area, but now the IT has passed, so we just have increased the government orders from the universities. We just need more engineers. We have created special programs for them. They get extra money if you learn IT. You get a computer if you learn IT, and
But you start at university. You don't start.
We actually start from the kindergarten.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The robotic trainings, and in first graders they can learn coding, for example.
How many do you invest in this education stuff, or do you have a percentage of this 50 million?
That 50 million doesn't go to the skills. Skills is different. I mean, this 50 million goes to the ICT development in government solutions. But I know this percentage, but the point is it's a small nation, and we don't invest so much into any other area. So the ICT gets extra attention.
Okay.
So I think the professors get at least 1/3 more compared with other professors, or even double more than compared with other professors. More students get extra money.
You don't have a complete sum.
Yeah,
okay.
by heart, by then.
So you mentioned, for example, you want to you want to give ID cards to non-residents to make them found companies here. What do you do for startups? What do you do for innovation and new companies?
In startup area, actually Estonia is doing really good, because we have most startups, successful startups per capita is in Estonia, even more than in Israel or in Finland.
Mm-hmm.
So this area is booming at the moment, definitely because of Skype. Skype was built here, and the engineering skills are really high in ICT. And especially what is good with the Estonians is that we are actually able to create cheap IT. I mean, to create a meaningful solution with very small budget. So yeah, so that's what. So we don't do anything extra for the startups. Of course, we have different venture capital funds, but to support this, but nothing significant. We don't do anything extra that other countries are not doing. So, but the e-resident thing, the point there is that we actually provide digital identity. Just we have the infrastructure ready, and we just share this infrastructure with the rest of the world. So if there's a person who wants to create the business not in Estonia but actually inside European Union, then they can use our services.
So you don't provide any money for startups. You don't have startup programs or something.
Yeah, we have small ones, of course. Like if you open up a company, you can get 10 or 15,000 euro support money, for example. There are many different small ones, but nothing significant. We don't have the Startup Chile type of program, or we don't have any huge funds here in Estonia. But we have a very good network, and we have very good engineers, and these engineers are actually known by Silicon Valley and Boston investors. Estonian companies, startup companies, are doing really well in different in different, in seed camp, for example, or accelerators. In different accelerators, they're doing really good.
Okay, as data security is always a thing which the Germans discuss, because Germans are very afraid of the internet. Can you tell us in short terms what guarantees do you give your citizens? Because everything is online in Estonia. So you named something in the speech before, so maybe you can give.
I had a public debate with one Bundestag member. I don't remember his name anymore, but we had a public debate about the data security, and the thing was that the guy was, on the same time during the debate, he was playing with his iPhone. And that's why I cannot understand the problem that Germans actually have with data security. Then you actually are afraid of your government, and you are not afraid of Google or Apple. So I cannot understand that, because actually these companies, private companies, actually know more about you than your government does. So the argument that the Big Brother is out there, it's like, for my ears, not if the Germans know, but if there is a France, somebody from the France or Italy is having the same problems, and most probably they want to hide their unpaid taxes or something. That's the real reason, why they say that we shouldn't be so IT advanced. So data security, I think, yeah, that's a myth. I think in Germany that still works, and it's funny that you're actually using smartphones, and on the same time you're not afraid of. You're actually afraid of your own government. So ridiculous.
Yep. But because you mentioned in the speech, you said, for example, that people have to trust, and
you have to build trust. People don't trust by heart. You have to build trust. So sorry about that. It means that, for example, in Estonia, if there is a nurse in a hospital who shares your medical data with third party, she goes to jail for many years, and actually goes. So that's how we build trust. Actually you can give the information to the government, because if the information is misused, it will go to jail. Again,
how do you find out that it is misused? So,
yeah, of course, if nothing happens with that data and nobody is using that, it may end up that you actually don't know if it was misused or not. But if there's an article in the newspaper saying that you actually have a cancer or something, then you figure out that the data was leaked.
I think you explained before in the speech that somebody. If somebody, that everybody can see if somebody has seen his data or something.
Yeah, they can ask the registry owner the data belongs to the citizen, so the registry owner has to show who has looked his or her data and what was the reason, and all that kind of stuff. So, for example, in population registry, if you ask, you might end up with Excel with well, 20,000 lines.
Okay, then you said, at the very end you said something very interesting. You would like prefer this idea of buying citizenship.
Yeah.
So could you just repeat that and then...
The point is, you actually don't buy a citizenship, but you actually buy services from countries that are actually convenient for you. Like if creating company takes so much time in your country, but you want to do a business, like why not to invest and buy this company elsewhere? Like I mean, like people are having bank accounts in Switzerland or Luxembourg or in Monaco. There is a need for that. So we see that we can also provide some government services that there might be a need out there for these services, and that was the point we had. That in the end of the day, we see more and more people just paying some money to this government and some money to that government just to get this very good service.
But isn't it just in favor for rich people then? I mean, would you just still more support the injustice of the world with that? Like you would allow...
Estonia is a very poor country, so if there are like many rich guys using Estonia as an investment body, our position will increase. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, I don't see this at all.
Because recently there was a discussion in Germany that Google, for example, said, as you mentioned Google before, they want to build chips, and being out of the legal reachings of the US just to develop things which they are not allowed to develop now. So if I think about this Boeing citizenship, I maybe have a wrong concept of that, but it gives me the idea that people could use it to go out of legal control with that. So of course, IT virtual life is a little bit more complicated than the physical life at the moment, but we don't see that as a problem. Like we see that there are like loads of benefits. I mean, like if the internet was created, the scientists also told to the people that we shouldn't give internet away freely because there will be viruses and there will be a porn and things like that. So they were absolutely right. So there are viruses and there are porn in the internet, but at the same time it's also good for other things. So the same thing here, that you never know how these services will be started to use, but you never know before you have tried. So let's try.